All right, welcome back to an all-new Flippin' Thru. I'm Matt over on this side.
And I'm Andrew over on this.
Get on the side.
Sorry, I'm Andrew over on this side.
Spatial awareness is all over the place.
It's different on the camera.
Max Payne 3, the complete series, the definitive edition, if you will. Between Max Payne 2 and Max Payne 3, there was 8 or 9 years.
Yeah.
Now, Max Payne 3 was developed by Rockstar without the direct involvement of Remedy. Remedy served as consultants on the game, and Sam Lake, who is the Lake here on the cover,
Our boy Sammy.
did come in, and they were like, do you have any ideas for for Max's childhood, or things that happened, and more background on the character?
Yeah.
He was like, well, yeah, actually, I have like a lot of ideas, that did make it into the game. Like it is a fleshed out character in his head.
I just imagine at the meeting where they're doing this, Sam's like, yeah, and he just pulls out this enormous file folder that's like 70 pounds of all the backstory.
Wheels in a fucking filing cabinet.
Yeah.
So Rockstar published online and also in this, hardcover physical edition, which you can get pretty cheap online if you're interested in this.
Yeah.
A Max Payne 3-part comic series.
Yeah.
Which bridges the story of Max Payne to Max Payne 1 and 2 into the third game, which is definitely a departure from the first two, but still connected in a lot of ways. And I do personally see it as, Remedy didn't do it, but it is, it is a continuation of that character.
So Max Payne was your first game in the Remedy universe, or Max Payne 3 was your first game in the So Max Payne 3 was your first game in the Remedy universe, right? That's the one you began with?
I don't know if it was that or Alan Wake.
Oh, okay. But that was, you played 3, and then you played 2.
It was my first Max Payne game, yeah.
And then you played the second one, and then you played the first one.
Yeah.
Interesting. I'm only a couple hours into 3. We're working on that now for our next I've played episode. But I did read this comic. Mm-hmm. There's a website, or there's the section on the Rockstar website that's Max Payne 3, and I believe there's still some dead links because they did just originally
host it. They used to host it on there. Now they're not.
Yeah, because if you Google Max Payne 3 comic, it will bring you to the Rockstar website where it seems like there used to be a spot.
Yeah, I don't know why they took it down, but you can still find it online for free. There's free scans of it, or you could check it out with us right here in this episode of Flippin' Thru.
We're gonna read every single word.
So I'll be the voice of Max.
Also made by Titan Books, who I thought did something else, and I'm realizing did not.
Oh, okay, cool.
So never mind. That's pretty cool. That's like a combining of the Rockstar and Remedy logos.
Yeah, with the bullet.
Yeah.
Some shell casings falling. And so one thing I do like is that this collection has the covers. A lot of collected comics don't show the covers.
You're right. I wonder why. Or I feel like I've seen it before. Like at one of the first pages will be a couple of the just smaller versions of those, and I'm like, why? Just give me the full page.
So this starts with a flashback to Hoboken, New Jersey. You see Max, in his old-timey outfit here. Mm-hmm. You get some flashbacks to Max's childhood, flashbacks to events in some of the previous games. One thing I'll say is, I'm not a fan of modern comics. A lot of modern comics, I think. I should say it differently. I'm not a fan of the way a lot of modern comics are colored or lettered. Mm-hmm. I think the lettering is great in here. It looks nice. It's it looks hand lettered. It might not actually be hand lettered. It looks hand lettered though. I think there's something so strange to me about a comic that will be drawn with such a distinct style and has great line work, and then the lettering looks like somebody just pasted it on top of the image. Where I think the lettering should be one cohesive element of the comic. It should look like it fits in the art. I think the word bubbles and the lettering here fit into the comic great.
Is that how you what you mean by modern comics?
A lot of modern comics, it seems like they do the lettering and the word bubbles digitally with a completely different line and style, from the artwork, and it just doesn't look in line with it.
Traditionally, the artist will write, literally paint the letters of the word bubbles and stuff, or
I mean, that
just-
always depends. But
Oh, you're saying it just doesn't seem cohesive.
yeah.
Okay, I see what you mean.
Sometimes there's a separate letter, or sometimes an artist does their own lettering, but like it just, you can tell when it looks like it fit in there, and you can tell when it looks like somebody just came in and pasted it on in software.
I see what you mean.
But also the coloring, I don't like a lot of like the super flat, like with too many gradients, and like it looks like baby's first Photoshop all the time.
Yeah.
But I think the color palette in here is good.
It's pretty cool, yeah.
Like
I thought
I
it
don't
was
know.
neat.
I was just surprised because for a licensed comic, I didn't have high expectations.
Yeah.
So you see 11 years ago, there's a scene from Max Payne 1 in
The subway?
the Roscoe Street station there. What's he watching on TV? Captain Baseball Bat Boy's on the TV.
Nice.
And so, yeah, this goes into Max's childhood a little bit.
Yeah. So this is his dad and his mom. Lots of
He's boozing.
lots of good things going on here between them.
The other thing I like about the comic here is that, in terms of the color palette, like each panel almost has its own palette.
Mm-hmm.
It's not like the same bluish gray repeated
Throughout.
Every single one has its own style, which I don't know how intentional that is, or if that's just how it came together, if they're trying to do something, but I think it's cool. And then you have like the sort of red sepia tone style thing for the flashbacks.
Contrasting with the blue. Well, Max Payne is kind of famous for having those comic book cinematics, so it's nice to see that they seemed to put, effort into the actual comic. To
totally.
pay homage and to be consistent with that.
So he's kind of going through, you see Mona, he's kind of reminiscing about his past.
Yeah, and this shows his mother died mysteriously. Mm-hmm. And he questions, if she was killed.
It seemed like he thought maybe his father killed her.
Yeah, that's what it believes. That's maybe what he believed. And then shortly after, his father died as well. Mm-hmm. So that informs a lot of his character moving along. Then, yeah, like you said, we see the flash of, we have Mona,
Bravura,
Jim Bravura,
Winterson,
our boy.
And then he's headed to, he's going down to pub. He's going to Watkins Bar. Does that say Watkins? Yeah, Walton's. I'll call it Watkins.
Sam Walton's bar.
I also like that there is like separate splash art, for the, instead of just like a blank page.
It's whiskey, Kong whiskey. I couldn't think of what kind of liquor it was. It was just Kong brand. He's a whiskey guy.
I think this character appears in the game.
I've yet to see him, but maybe.
So we have a scene here in the bar, and if you've played Max Payne 3, this should look familiar to you.
I have, but it doesn't yet.
Well, if you played more than the first 40 minutes of Max Payne 3.
All right. All right. And then, so this is the backstory of how he met Michelle.
Yeah.
He was saving her from some street thugs, asked her out. She kind of rejected him, but then didn't. And it was a sweet little story. They got together.
So they're hanging out here at the bar. They're talking. We see Lieutenant Bravura.
Alex Balder.
Yep.
This was cool. This entire sequence shows like a couple of Max and Alex's, greatest hits, so to say.
Yeah, because I don't think that they really explore like Balder's relationship. So basically,
He's badass too.
Balder and Max were in the NYPD together, and then NYPD together, and then Balder moved to the DEA, and Max was like, that's not for me. But then he found out he was more interested than he thought,
boy.
initially, after his family were murdered by drug addicts.
Yes. Who were also test subjects.
So these thugs at the bar have Maxie at gunpoint, and the whole time he's going through this situation here at the bar, he's also reminiscing about his past. Mm-hmm. And it's cool. This does do a lot to tie in the events of the third game. If you've played it, you see
Rise of our.
Oh, I can't think of this guy's name.
It's not Punchinello.
No, it's a completely different crime boss.
I initially thought it was the Punchinello family because I had misread.
In Max Payne 3, there's a TV broadcast, and they call it the Punchinello crime family.
I heard that, yeah.
It's like, I don't like that at all.
Punchinello? Feels weird.
So,
but it shows the rise of new criminal leaders, as well as the introduction of one Raul Passos?
Passos. Yeah, so there's Passos here. He appears. He basically saves Max from getting his shit kicked in. And I gotta say, again, I don't know if Hidden Machine viewers know this, but I have, for the last several years, been co-publishing a comics anthology.
Yes.
I'm a really big comic book nerd. I have a sizable comic collection.
It's true. I've seen it.
I read a lot of comics. I'm very into the world of comics, especially weird, gritty, underground, like dirty crime, violent shit.
What's that one that you have where it's like I thought you had a poster in this room. I'm looking around. It's like this guy with like fucked up. He kind of looks like Nathan Explosion from Death
Oh, it's probably The Derelict.
Yeah, there you go. And he's just like scary.
Yeah.
That's what I think of when you mentioned like that. That's kind of your vibe.
Yeah, basically, stuff in the outlaw comics vein. I have a pretty big complaint
Penis?
here.
Oh.
The comic looks great up until this point. This is so shitty. There's like the text to image ratio is insane. It's so messy.
It's looking kind of
Every
rough.
panel is so congested. I feel like they could have told this better. And also, like, I get the impression, I could be wrong, this layout doesn't look natural to me. This looks like somebody fucked with this layout. Like the size of this
And
panel
they have to
here,
resize things.
and then having the indicia right here that like should normally go on like maybe the inside front cover.
Yeah.
And
We're seeing a lot of white.
Yeah.
Very
Weird. Very, very weird. I'm just saying that, as a fan of comics, as someone who has, not that I'm like the authoritative figure on comics, but I have to critique comics for the comic anthology we publish.
Yeah.
And we do reject work. We give notes on work.
You're the angry comic book nerd is what you're saying.
That's a note I would give is, whoa, can you find a way to reel in that text a little bit or rebalance these panels?
Now, I consume graphic novels, manga, and comics, regularly, but not quite as much as you do. I got hung up on this area as well a little bit, more so in the story. Because what we hear here is that as the introduction of Raul Passos is, so they apparently him and Max went to the police academy with one another.
But
and
Max doesn't seem to remember him.
He doesn't recall him at all.
Yeah.
And maybe this is rectified in Max Payne 3 because, like I said, I'm only a couple hours in. But it really feels kind of forced, and he does show up and save the day. I didn't love that.
Yeah. It's suspicious, isn't it?
Yeah.
Yeah.
So I think I'm picking up on what you're laying down here, but this stuck out to me. So hopefully.
Yeah. Well, the game does explore that.
Okay.
So here you have some more scenes with Mona. I think that's no, it isn't. Wow, that guy's got a Swazi on his chest.
Oh yeah, I didn't notice that.
So basically, Max shot the guy who was talking shit to him because he hit the lady.
The guy who was talking shit is the son of one of these.
Of the big crime boss in town.
Yeah.
And that's it. That's it, really. So,
whoa.
You get some.
Okay, this was not in the digital version.
No, this is concept art for Max Payne. They were trying different hairstyles.
I kind of like all of them.
Yeah, they all work in different ways as like a gritty old guy trying to get back in the game.
I'm almost leaning on the long hair. I kind of like the longer hair.
It's a little too Kane and Lynch, though.
Yeah. There's a lot of guys that kind of look like they have that same vibe.
Got some environmental concept
cool.
art. Yeah, pretty sick little bonus here. Initial game art concepts. This is all pretty sick to me as well.
Yeah.
I don't know, I like the weird fisheye effect. Very Rockstar.
Oh, yeah.
One last shot of Mr. Maxwell Payne.
I do kind of feel, well, I don't know. I still need to play all of 3 before I can say anything about it. Design-wise, I wonder, and granted, yeah, it has been a number of years, 11 years since the second game, when the third game came out, and in the Remedy titles, they usually release in the year, they take place in the year that the games are released.
Yeah, I believe this game as well does take place in 2012.
Okay, cool. I'm concerned that their character design of Max has jumped to so far. Everything that I've experienced, I'm like, this doesn't feel like Max Payne yet. But you said that you did tell me that does begin to.
It rectifies itself. Yeah, I mean, the biggest thing to remember, I think, for anyone that has started the game or is hopping into it, when the game starts, like Max is a broken alcoholic mess,
he's in this new apartment.
He's not necessarily in the first game and the second game he had something spurring him on,
keeping him alive.
Whether it was Michelle and Rose, or Mona trying to save someone or avenge someone, or some sort of guilt or something. Like in the third game, he's a bodyguard for a rich family.
His entire he mentions that he's just kind of throwing himself into situations without much regard whether for his own safety.
Yeah, and which isn't like new. Like he had always been kind of like, I think Jordan Hill said he's always kind of had a death wish.
Yeah.
But he doesn't have a purpose per se. Mm-hmm. And as the game develops, he does find that purpose. But in the first part of the game especially, he seems really off. And I think that is in large part because it's a character with no motivation.
Yeah, it feels very hollow. But again, I haven't experienced the whole thing, so I'm not presenting that.
I think you're literally on the second mission, right?
Yeah.
Yeah.
I do think this comic, I'm gonna shake the camera as I hit it so hard, might have been a better introduction to the game than the actual opening cinematic.
Yeah, I agree.
Because the actual, I'm glad you agree. It makes you're a very smart man, Matt. Because I think what you see mostly in the cinematic, very stylized. Mm-hmm. I love the style that they have in Max Payne 3 so far. Because they do they pay homage to the comic book feel. And there's kind of Tarantino like.
The frames kind of like push and slide, and they look like panels.
Yeah, it's never just a tracking shot or like a tripod camera. Yeah. But in the intro, it does a really good job of painting Max as this alcoholic, washed up, nothing to live for kind of schlub guy. He's like puking in his apartment, taking the painkillers and drinking, but it doesn't give me anything else.
Right.
And I think we'll get into it.
Yeah.
But
it's not a strong beginning, though.
No.
Even if it does, that's the thing. I think that Rockstar is not as good at the telling the story out of order kind of thing as Remedy was. I think that's all it is. I think they're just not as skilled with this kind of narrative.
Max Payne 3 does not begin with the ending of the game.
It does.
It does?
Mm-hmm. Do you remember there's a guy on the ground, face all bloodied, and he's like, I guess that's what they wanted me to be.
I do. You're right.
Yeah, they try really hard to do it in the mold of the Max Payne games, but I just don't think the narrative strength is there. And I think that's in large part because I don't know how many other Rockstar games you've played. I've played most of their games to a degree.
I don't think I've ever played one as an adult. I should say that. I played San Andreas when it came out a lot, but I was like 10. I probably shouldn't have been playing it. I played Vice City previous to that, but I was even younger. I remember enjoying them, but I cannot speak to the merit of those games.
Okay,
I just played them as a child.
I think the last two Grand Theft Auto games were kind of like applauded for their story elements.
I heard 5 and San Andreas 4. Or is San Andreas number 4 or is that?
I think San Andreas is San Andreas.
It's its own thing.
Yeah.
Okay.
I think Grand Theft Auto 4 is the one with the immigrant story, basically.
Oh, okay, yeah.
And then 5 is the most recent game.
That's right. I have also heard that.
4, I played through a lot of 4. I haven't completed it, but I mean, it does have more of a story arc than, a lot of the other games do. And even the first, couple Rockstar games, the earliest game, and these are, different teams. I think by the end of 3, it was basically everyone who'd worked on the first part of the trilogy was gone.
Okay.
But even the roots of the Grand Theft Auto series didn't have a plot. It was just do the missions, and then the story was kind of built around the missions and the mechanics more so than, in harmony with.
That seems in line with my memory of it.
I don't know. I played through Bully. I played through a bunch of the Red Dead games, and they just, especially with more open world stuff, it's not narrative driven. There's a narrative, obviously, but trying to do a more narrative-driven action game, it's a good attempt, but it's not as masterful as Remedy, unfortunately. But this does help a lot. And something that, is if you've played Max Payne 3, you'll know a lot of these scenes do happen in the game. But none of the flashback stuff. Or I shouldn't say none of the flashback stuff. None of the sepia tone flashback stuff that's in here. Like all the stuff of his childhood and growing up and everything with Michelle and none of that appears in the game. So I feel like this fleshes him out so much more in a way that would give me more sympathy for the character as he appears in 3 immediately.
Yeah.
Instead of growing to understand him over the course of the first 5 hours of the game.
For sure. I would say this is Max Payne. This feels like Max Payne to me.
Yeah.
When I see him, despite every iteration of Max Payne visually looking different, this is Max Payne. Whereas in the game, I kind of feel like so far, first couple hours, just a guy.
Yeah, just a guy
who has a similar voice or a familiar voice. But I'm interested to get into the rest of the game. I think it was ambitious and pretty cool because Max Payne 2, we talked about this, it grew. Well, Max Payne, the first one sold very well. The second game didn't do as well number-wise.
No.
So I think it was cool that Rockstar wanted to jump on this train because they didn't need to. There was nothing really to gain from making a Max Payne 3. It had like Max Payne 2, it had grown, cultivated a cult following. But it's not like making a third game was going to be a huge cash-in. It wasn't like a super oh man, if we do that, we'll make a bunch of money. They didn't have a lot of...
it was a gamble.
Yeah. So I think it's really cool that they made it. And I'm excited to experience more Max Payne because as much as we should let things die, I do like it playing shit that I like.
Yeah.
Getting more of things that I like. So I'm excited to play through it.
Yeah. And so you can check out our I've played discussions of Max Payne 1 and 2, and by the time this video goes up, you will soon be able to see the I've played discussion on Max Payne 3. Mm-hmm. And if you like the Flippin' Thru, we got plenty more of those here on the channel, so be sure to subscribe for more and check it out, and hey, share it with a friend. And, if you're mad that we just showed the whole book, suck it. You can't even fucking get it anymore.
It's true.
It's
also
out of print.
I'm excited to jump into the people who don't like Max Payne 3 and don't consider it part of the trilogy and hate it. If you're one of those people, please give us a good reason as to why you don't believe that it's good or part of the series, rather than just one line saying, Max Payne 3 sucks.
Yeah, I'd like to hear a nice, well-thought-out critique.
Anyway.
Bye.